in my perception, in how the world seems to me, in my interpretation of the world. I now have as a belief that we feel good for a reason and we feel poorly for a reason. We feel good because that's nature's way of telling us you're doing and thinking the right thing. And we feel bad when we're doing and or thinking the wrong thing. It's not random. It's I call it the red light on the dashboard of your life.
Okay, so yeah, it depends on, I mean, the weather can affect how we feel and how we think.
Yeah.
Our surroundings and people we are surrounded with can affect how we think and how we feel. Mm-hmm. And they say you're always as good as the 5 people that you surround yourself with. Yes, no, it depends, how strong-willed you are.
I think that's more of a reflection of where you are at the moment. It's a way of seeing yourself. If you don't have the ability to actually see yourself, look at the status of the people are close to you, and that usually is something, that's usually an indicator. But I still say that it's all a matter of interpretation and impression. If I don't believe that there's such a thing as good or bad, like for instance, in my life, when I used to think something was bad, this is what I would do. I would back away, I would close my eyes, I'd raise my arms because I want to protect myself. But then I suddenly realized, wait a minute, what if these things aren't bad, but my interpretation of bad is closing me off to a message or a lesson that they're trying to teach me? When I was a kid, I love the fact that this is 2 hours because I can go off onto little tangents here and there. But when I was a kid, I was like 6 years old, 7 years old. I played hooky from school.
Oh.
Yeah, I pretended I was sick, but I was bored like crap at home, like totally bored. So I go into the kitchen and my mom is cooking and she's talking to my aunt on the phone. So she's totally distracted. And I'm tugging on her skirt, mommy, play with me. I'm bored. And she says, honey, you're not feeling well. Go drink some water, sit down in front of the TV and get some rest. Well, I didn't go anywhere because back in those days, the heating elements on stovetops were raised and they glowed like orange and red and blue and all these like, lava lamp type thing. And I was totally fascinated. So I started reaching out to touch it. And my mom said, honey, don't do that. You'll burn yourself. Very soft, very tender, very loving. Well, being the idiot that I am, I of course listened to her. Well, I reached out like a bunch of other times. And each time I reached out, she got louder and angrier until the second last time. And pay attention, I said second last time, not the last time. Second last time, she slapped my hand really hard and yelled at me, don't do that. You're going to burn yourself. Well, she thought I actually got the message. Ha, ha, ha. I reached out one more time. I had rings on my hands from the burn. And it hurt like hell. Rest assured, I never did that again. But the moral of the story for me is that I wasn't listening to the lesson. And the more I didn't listen, the more the lesson got louder and scarier to try to get me to listen and pay attention. So my current understanding now is to transpose that into real life. And I believe, again, no proof, but I believe this goes for everybody, that when life seems to be giving us, rotten eggs, it's not because life's giving us rotten eggs. It's because we're not listening for the lesson that it's trying to teach us. And it gets worse and worse and worse until we listen. And eventually, if we just don't listen, life seems to punch us in the head all the time. And we think, what did we do so wrong? Why are we having such a crappy life? And I believe it's a miscommunication. I believe we're not listening to what life is trying to teach us, what we are trying to teach ourselves, what our parents are trying to teach us, what God is trying to teach us, what religion is trying to teach us, what society is trying to teach us, what anything that happens to us is trying to teach us.
And it's saying, and we say to ourselves when it keeps going wrong and wrong and wrong, why me? Why me? And I always say, if you want to have a go at something, have a go at it. It doesn't matter what it is. Have a go at it. If if it doesn't work out, just look at the lessons that you learned that you can take on to something else. And that's life. I mean, everything we do is a lesson. We either learn from it or we keep continuing to do it until sometime it gets that bad that we stop or something drastic happens and we learn that lesson eventually. But everything that we do in life is a lesson. We either take it on board or we don't take it on board. So, you know, it's all about how we perceive things and what we, you know, how our brains sourcing things, how it's, you know, absorbing the information, and whether it's looking at it logically, illogically, or however it's looking at it. And then the perception is we either learn from it or we keep making mistakes. And I say you should only ever you're allowed to make mistakes because you learn from them. But if you keep repeating the same mistake over and over again, you've got a big problem. So, you know, and who have you got to blame? I mean, you know, we blame everybody else for the things that go wrong in our life, but it's not their fault. It's ours. And we have to admit that.
I don't think it's our fault.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I don't think, well, see, I'm going to try to bend reality a little here.
Yeah.
When we call something a mistake, that tends to give it a meaning that we did something wrong. I believe it's a lesson. It's not a mistake. It's just a lesson. And if we're not getting the lesson, well, that's not a mistake either. Maybe there's a reason why we're not getting that lesson. Maybe something else has to happen first. You know, when you want to make a building, you have to excavate, you have to build a strong base, you have to mix cement. You need ingredients to do all of this. You need a plan. You need all of this. I'm here, let me speak more socially. I met my wife when I was 47. Before then, I think I told you I was a sex addict and everything else. So I kind of was like a bumblebee. I went from flower to flower to flower to flower. But the thing is that I didn't meet her, and she's like the perfect woman for me. And we love each other. Like, it's sickening. People around us probably get nauseated. It's really that. But if I would have met her in my 20s, when I was, by the way, more hair, much better looking too, I'm sure, I don't think we would have had a relationship. I think we may have dated a few times and she would have told me to F off. Mm. I wasn't in a situation, I wasn't ready to meet the right woman for me. I wasn't ready for that right relationship. So I didn't get it. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was a druggie. I was drinking, you know, I wasn't responsible. I mean, a lot of things were not nice and neat and tidy in my life. And sometimes
over 40 years.
Yeah. But I was thinking, you know, why can't I meet someone I'm good with? Why do I always have to meet these people that I'm not good with, and I'm not treating them well, and they're not treating me well, and all these things are wrong? And I kept thinking this is like, you know, again, me suffering because I'm a bad person. But then I kind of realized, no, it's because I wasn't ready. And just like the building and just like the relationship, things had to be in place first. You can't make an omelet without an egg. You can't make cement without sand and water and whatever else you need for cement. You know, all these things are necessary to be in place in order for something else to happen. My attitude shifted. My attitude changed from one of being, why don't I have anything? Woe is me. Great saying you used before, you know, being, aren't I lucky? Aren't I fortunate that I haven't met the perfect one yet? Because everyone I meet before then is teaching me things of value. So even if I had a relationship that my friends would say, oh, aren't you happy to be out of this? I'd be saying, no, I'm fine. I'm happy. Because sometimes relationships have a best before date. Doesn't mean you throw out the whole thing. You don't throw it out before the best before date. You get what you get out of it, you give what you give, and then you both say, well, thank you, it's been a gas, see you later. You your way, I go my way. It's an interesting thing when you suddenly start to realize, or sorry, when I suddenly, because I can't speak for anyone else, but when I suddenly started to realize that my choice on how I think about things is what actually made my experience. It's what made my reality. The minute I started looking at things, silver lining, as opposed to the negativity, everything in my life shifted. But it wasn't really shifting. It was my perception, my choice. I speak with clients all the time on the phone, and I'm not even a coach. And the classic question I'll ask them at the end of the 20-minute call or whatever is, how do you feel now compared to how you felt when we first started talking? And that's a loaded question, because I can hear in their voice they're more energetic, they're more positive. It's a loaded question. But they'll say, I kind of feel better. And then right away I follow up with, so tell me what in your life has changed in the last 20 minutes. Absolutely nothing has changed, except how they're choosing to think about their circumstances and their situation. Yeah. That is enough to change reality. That changes your quantum experience in your life. If you're not happy with how your life is right now, change how you're thinking about it. Just look at it from a different perspective. Look at it from somebody else's perspective. Pretend you're your own best friend and you're trying to help yourself, or go to someone and talk to them and listen to them, see how they're viewing you, so you can get an idea for what you're doing. Again, the red light on the dashboard of your life. Why is that light there? It's not there to hurt you. If you break your leg, the pain you feel isn't there to punish you. It's there to inspire you to get help so your leg gets set and gets taken care of. Depression, all these other things, I believe, are actually good for you. If you understand them. Hey, I was depressed for 40 years. It took me 40 years to realize that the depression was trying to tell me something that I wasn't listening to. When I realized something, suddenly the world opens up.
So now, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So now you've done a complete turnaround, and what you're doing is not only helping yourself, but you're helping lots and lots of other people. And I'm going to say feel good about themselves, or get them to look at things or think of things in a different perspective than what they were thinking. Yes. And one of those things that you've done with the quantum physics and the neuroscience and everything else that you're doing is developed a quantum entrainment program, which
series of programs, yes.
Yeah. So what does that actually do? We've got a brief moment and then we'll come back after the break to talk more about it. But in a few words.
Well, on a physiological level, purely physiological, it changes your brainwave activity. That changes your neurochemistry. And a computer uses zeros and ones to give you the experience on the screen. Your body and your mind gives you a chemical soup, if you will, a recipe that allows you to experience your life exactly the same way. And it changes your chemistry by changing your brain's activity, and that changes how you feel. And when you suddenly see yourself thinking and feeling differently, that has got to be, in my opinion, one of the most empowering feelings you can have.
So what you've developed is a series of programs which are, I might say this wrong, but sound waves, sound vibrations.
Yes. Vibration, and sometimes visual vibration as well.
Right. Okay. And what does that do to the brain when someone's either listening to it or visualizing it, seeing it?
That's what entrainment is. If you've ever listened to music you like and you're bopping your head and you're tapping your feet without trying to do it, that's a form of entrainment. You can prove that you've been entrained many, many times simply by that experience. What we are doing with the sounds and with the imagery is we're entraining your neurons, which are your brain cells, and they naturally pulse an electric frequency, a minute little electric frequency. And depending on how many times a second it pulses, that's the state you're in. So when you hear alpha, theta, beta, delta, gamma, that's just a range of pulses per second that neuron is pulsing. And depending on the range and the location, that dictates the chemistry that is being released. And through research and studies, we see the kind of chemistry. Look, when someone's depressed, they get a pill that either stops something from being produced or creates something to be produced. Or maybe it's a synthetic version of something they think you're missing. All of this can be done naturally and is used in multi disciplines as well, like Alzheimer's disease, cognitive decline, learning, emotion, confidence, self-esteem. Everything, the brain is the central processing unit of your life. And if we can make the brain stronger and more effective, it's going to make your life that much better as well. That's my understanding.
Okay, and so you're looking at all the motor neuron diseases and things like that, which it all comes from your brain, and there are chemicals and things that stop working, then create these issues in people's bodies. So would what you're doing be able to help people who are in that state?
I'm not allowed to make medical claims, so I won't say that, but I can tell you that all my products have money back guarantees. And I can also tell you that one of the top Alzheimer's researchers uses my recordings, and they're like doctors and clinicians all over the world suggest to their patients to buy a specialized system that I've developed for cognitive issues. So I can't say anything medically, but I can tell you that there's doctors and clinicians suggesting it to their clients and patients.
Fantastic.